If you have or had an avoidant partner, you might have found yourself acting in ways, and when you look back, you don't really understand why. And in this video, I'm going to go through exactly how the avoidant partner conditions their anxious counterpart. Hi, I'm Amy and welcome to my channel. I'm a certified attachment style coach and I help anxious attachers break the cycle of avoidant and emotionally unavailable partners so that you can really thrive in your independence and prevent future heartbreak. And in today's video, I'm going to go through how avoidant attachers' coping strategies and behaviours can really condition their anxious counterparts to act in certain ways. Now, I just want to caveat this video because I'm not talking about narcissism, and a lot of the points in this video you might well think, oh, are they avoidant or are they narcissistic? What I want to do is really bring to your attention that a narcissistic person's only goal is to control you. And even though you may well have felt controlled and manipulated in this relationship, this is not the avoidance goal. The avoidance goal is self-protection and self-preservation. And although some of these behaviours come across as manipulative, that isn't what the avoidance intention is. But I'm hoping by the end of this video you will have some sort of clarity as to why you might have acted in certain ways in your relationship. And when you look back, you might think, oh, maybe I did overreact, or maybe I did look for things that weren't there. Maybe I did overthink too much. But I'm going to explain exactly why this happens. But if you're interested in what your attachment style is, I have a free attachment style quiz. The link is in my bio, but let's get into the video. So those that have followed me for a while will know that I was in a 7-year on and off relationship with a dismissive avoidant person. And this video is from my own experience and what my clients have experienced, as well as research that I've done on this very topic. But I want to start with the anxious avoidant dynamic, the push-pull dynamic that is so common in these types of relationships. So you've got an avoidant attachment style whose aim is self-preservation. Its aim is to not get too close, not get attached, because if I do and this person leaves me, I'm going to be in real pain. I'm going to feel really ashamed, and then I'll start telling myself that I don't deserve a relationship and that there's something wrong with me. So the avoidant attachment's fear is emotional dependence on somebody else, whereas you've got the anxious attacher who still has the very same fear of abandonment as the avoidant does. Their reaction and their behaviour is very different. So their underlying fear of abandonment really drives clingy behaviour, desperation, neediness, reassurance seeking, which really pressures the avoidant into pulling away and emotionally distancing, which causes the anxious attacher to chase, to try and pull them closer for proximity, because then they might be less likely to leave. Now, this relationship dynamic is incredibly painful for both parties. It doesn't do either party any good at all. And what both are doing is essentially living relationships through their past trauma. With the avoidant, that's where we get emotional withdrawal, emotional distancing, and hot and cold behaviour. So you might have been the best thing ever one day and the next day they don't want to know you. And it creates a trauma bond in the anxious attached individual because they're getting the dopamine, endorphins hit, because they feel wanted, they feel valued. And then the next day, when that all goes away, the system is flooded with cortisol. They will overthink the situation. And of course you are, because yesterday they were acting completely differently. It can feel like you are in a relationship with two separate people. So let's go into how the avoidant unintentionally conditions the anxious counterpart. And the main one that I see is hot and cold behaviour, as I've just said, which really triggers the anxious attachment style's fear of abandonment, and then they might start to chase, they might start to pull closer, which pushes the avoidant further and further away. So the inconsistency in the relationship, the emotional distancing, the gaslighting, and just the general underlying feeling that this person has one foot out of the door is enough to keep you on your toes a lot of the time. And if you are in a relationship where you feel unsafe and on your toes over 50% of the time, take a step back and reevaluate this relationship, because I can assure you relationships do not have to feel that unsafe. So eventually what happens is the anxious attacher is conditioned to believe that they have to perform, that they have to work hard for this person's approval. Now, with anxious attachers, it would be wrong to place the whole blame at the avoidance doorstep. For you to be accepting this sort of behaviour, it has to be on some level familiar to you. So this is coming back to your own attachment style here, guys. You might have grown up in a home where love was inconsistent. Maybe you were heavily praised one day and then the next day heavily punished for something. But essentially, you internalized a belief system where love is inconsistent. I have to work hard for someone's approval. I have to earn someone's love. And when you've internalized that belief system, you will meet somebody, or you will be attracted to, or you will attract people that meet that baseline, because your alarm bells are not going to ring, because it's familiar to you. You're not going to have this reaction that maybe a securely attached person would have, because they grew up in a home where there was consistency. So when someone shows up as inconsistent, their alarm bells ring. And this is a message to say something isn't right here, which doesn't necessarily happen with anxious attachers. But when you're exposed to the avoidance behaviour over a longer period of time, what you're going to do subconsciously is learn where you can tread and where you can't. So what this might look like is fear of rocking the boat and upsetting this person, because if you do, this person's already got one foot out of the door. And if I say this, it's just going to push them all the way through it. And this happens so many times, you guys, and I've helped clients the world over with this very same problem. I've created a very specific blueprint of how I healed my anxious attachment to secure attachment. You can email me, my link is in the bio. I do offer one-on-one coaching. So really, this cycle of hot and cold, not really knowing where you stand, you'll find yourself persistently in a state of fight and flight. And what this is going to create is a dynamic of feeling insecure most of the time and being dependent on this person, because the avoidants are very good at breadcrumbing. So you are constantly waiting for a breadcrumb. And when that breadcrumb comes, even if it's small, you're going to think, oh, thank gosh. It's going to feel like hope. It's going to feel like love. And you are going to be holding on to that, not knowing when the next breadcrumb's going to come, because the relationship is so inconsistent. But it's enough to keep you holding on to this relationship, because when the breadcrumb does come, it feels so good. And you almost forget that you spent weeks or months in a state of anxiety. And is this behaviour manipulative? Yes, of course it's manipulative. Is it intentional? Not necessarily. And the avoidant probably doesn't have the awareness of how this behaviour is making their partners feel. But I do want to validate that sense of this is manipulative and I feel controlled, because I absolutely felt like this, you guys. I felt like I couldn't say things that I wanted to say. I felt like I was treading on eggshells a lot of the time with this person. The continual threatening of the security of the relationship absolutely kept me on my toes. I used to wait around for a breadcrumb or two and spend the rest of the time feeling really, really anxious. But the result of this is that your self-worth is going to diminish. You are going to try and work harder and harder for this person's love, attention, and affection. You are going to feel rejected quite often unless this person is open to healing their attachment style. But that's their stuff. That's their trauma. That's their attachment style. What we want to do is work on your attachment style. Let's look at, why is it that I stayed in this relationship? What did I think this relationship was giving me or was going to give me? Why does this behavior feel so familiar to me? And look at how it is that you treat yourself, because I always say on this channel, you will not accept behavior that is worse than how you treat yourself. If you're an unhealed anxious attacher, your bar is quite low right now. And this isn't said with judgment, you guys, but when the bar is set low due to low self-worth and low self-esteem, you are going to accept breadcrumbs. You are going to accept hot and cold behavior. But even when you're not comfortable in it, even when you don't like it, you are still going to accept it. But when you raise the bar, when you start treating yourself like a worthy person, when you start really listening to that intuition and internal navigation system that's telling you this behavior is unsafe, this relationship is not safe, you're going to start listening to it. Validate yourself. Tune into yourself. How do you talk to yourself? Do you consider your own needs? Are you hot and cold with yourself even? Are you somebody who frequently doubts what they feel and think? Because all of this is what you need to work on, and creating that relationship back to yourself. If you've been in a relationship with an avoidant over a long period of time, you will find that you start to lose that connection with yourself. And it's that connection with yourself that is going to keep you safe in the future, where you can honor what your yeses and nos are and show up for them. So the next time you get into a relationship, as soon as someone shows up as inconsistent, your alarm bells are going to ring. You're going to say to this person, I noticed that you were like this yesterday and today you're not like that. I actually have a boundary around this kind of behavior. Can we talk about it and let's come to a compromise? And for that person to show up like that, you do not have to stay in a relationship that you feel consistently unsafe in. But the reason why you are staying in a relationship of that nature is because of your own attachment style. So I hope you found that video helpful. If you did, drop a comment below. I do have a 6-week self-study course coming out soon, so subscribe to this channel for information on that. But I'm Amy, and it's an absolute pleasure for me to help you improve your self-worth, and thank you so much for watching.